Hello, everyone. Welcome to our parent info session for the month of April. We are super excited to present tonight. We have one of our incredible coaches here with us to share on what she is truly an expert at. And I know that everyone will learn, including all of us here that are watching live and anyone that tunes in later. So we will go ahead and get started. Are you guys all able to see the PowerPoint and my screen? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so we are talking about structured literacy. Definitely a huge talking point for anyone who is in the dyslexic world, and definitely is research based and backed up by lots of research. And I feel like there's ton to be learned by everyone, and so I'm excited for the Academy to kind of get that information out there and get it started. Before we get into structured literacy, just a quick reminder that next week is our training camp. The Academy Virtual does a training camp once a month. It's a great opportunity for any students that may be considering the Academy to come and experience the exact same thing that our full-time students experience for 3 days. You'll get all of our classes really immersed in our multisensory instruction with all of our incredible coaches. And all of that for free. So there's $100 deposit that you get it's fully refundable at the completion of those 3 days. And kids definitely will have fun, learn a lot, and it's just a great opportunity. So that is next week, April 19th to the 21st, and you can register up until tomorrow evening at theacademyvirtual.org. And a little bit about the Academy Virtual. So we are a private school serving grades 3 through 8th, 3rd through 8th. Our classes are structured literacy, which you'll learn all about tonight, reading comprehension, with also an emphasis in phonemic awareness, math, and writing. Classes meet 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, low student to teacher ratios. I'm personally a mother, and my son goes to the Academy Virtual and cannot speak highly enough about the coaches there. They are top notch, so much fun, so engaging. Definitely is the best place to be. So dyslexia is kind of what started the Academy Way, the Academy Virtual, and is definitely a target area of our student population alongside ADHD, ADD, specific learning disability, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, any of those reading difficulties, labels that your student may receive inside of the school setting, the traditional school setting, we service and definitely are experts at servicing well. So just a quick recap on dyslexia. Dyslexia is a language-based learning difference affecting students in all grade levels and in life beyond the classroom. A lot of people go undiagnosed throughout school and later in life end up being diagnosed. So it's definitely something that continues to impact individuals after they're done with their schooling. Early intervention and structured literacy improves reading skills. We focus on the science of reading. So this isn't just a belief of the Academy. This is research-based, scientifically proven that structured literacy is absolutely vital for children with dyslexia. They need it to learn to read. Without it, they will struggle. And it's proven, it's research based. And we specialize again in teaching students with dyslexia, ADHD, any of those neurodiverse learning challenges. Upon registration, we do a screener with your child. So don't be deterred if you're not sure. Just, head on over to our registration site and check us out. Marcy's incredible. Marcy is one of our structured literacy coaches here at the Academy Virtual. Definitely from a coworker's point of view, she's someone that we go to constantly for feedback. She's, one of our leaders of our team. She has such a wealth of knowledge and she's so good with our students. So we are truly honored to have her here tonight to speak to all of us and to teach all of us about what she is the best at. So, Marcy, I'm going to pass the mic over to you if you want to share a little bit about you and your background.
Well, thank you, Kayla. That's hard to follow. But my background, I am from Indiana. Um, Structured literacy was not my first career. My first career was actually as a computer scientist and computer programmer. I went to Purdue University, and then my husband and I moved to Atlanta for job opportunities. So it wasn't the first thing I went for. I came to it a little bit later and out of necessity.
Awesome. Do you want to share about that necessity now, or does that come up a little later in our conversation?
Well, we can share it now if you'd like to, Kayla. It's I have my own child who was diagnosed with dyslexia in 1995. She was in fourth grade. She was reading between a first and second grade level, and I kept being told, "Oh, she's bright. She'll pick it up." It was the whole language era, and I believed, "Oh, she's bright. She'll pick it up." But once we got to fourth grade, I realized that there's a problem here. Um, I didn't even really know what dyslexia was. But I had a very good friend who said, go get her tested. And that's what we did. We got her tested. We got the diagnosis of dyslexia. It was a huge relief for Andrea. I think I told you, she'd said, do you mean that means I'm not dumb? And that's heartbreaking as a parent, because she knew she couldn't read. She knew her, peers were reading. So that kind of started my journey with structured literacy and Wilson. I tried to immerse myself and learn as much as I could.
There's no better motivator as a mama than our babies, right? You put
No,
that
there is
behind
not.
us, there's no stopping us, that's for sure. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, Marcy, and that you told me that story just several days ago, and my heart breaks. And I know often parents, they struggle with, do you tell your child or not? Do you tell them they have dyslexia? Do you let them know of this label? Do you, not let them know of this label? And I feel like based off the reading that I've done, it kind of goes back and forth. But I feel like that's a perfect testimony. And I myself know when we told my own son he's dyslexic, that it was the same response. It was
Was
almost
it?
like a little weight was lifted off their
Yes.
shoulders, because they understand they learn differently, right? It's not
Mhm.
wrong. They don't learn wrong, but they just are learning differently than the way our traditional schools are set up for children to learn. So they understand. So kind of giving them that reassurance that it's not just them, or it's nothing they, you know, it's out of their control. It gives them some sense of, I guess, belonging, because they know then it's something or someone they can identify with. Yeah, and
Exactly. Yeah.
Anne saying the same thing in regards to her
Yes.
daughter with ADHD. So
She
thank you
was
for
relieved. I know Andrea was just, as I said, I'll never forget that. That moment. She was just relieved to find out, okay, there's a reason I can't read.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I was just reading something about Steven Spielberg, who's dyslexic, right? One of like the
Mm-hmm.
biggest directors, and he wasn't diagnosed until later on in life. And he was quoted saying it was the missing piece all of this time. I just
Yes.
needed to know, and it was kind of that missing piece for him. So,
Well, it's an interesting thing too. and I've heard parents say this before, but my husband said it as soon as Andrea was diagnosed. He said, my gosh, he didn't really understand what it was either. But he said, I struggled with some of the same things and I didn't even know it. So it is interesting. Um, but the thing that got me, I had a friend who had just been certified in Wilson, and she said, "Let me work with Andrea." And we had tried all sorts of different programs and different things. Nothing was working, but this did work, and it was amazing because I know my own daughter was she'd lost her confidence. She'd kind of withdrawn a little bit. She definitely wasn't going to raise her hand to read in class. But as soon as she started down that path, she started gaining some confidence. And that's when this particular friend said, "You need to go get certified. You need you need to learn about this." And I did. And it made perfect sense to me because structured literacy is directly taught. It's not, we would never in a math class throw a bunch of numbers at a child and say, okay, divide. They would have no idea what you were talking about. But yet we do that on the whole language approach for these kids trying to read. So, structured literacy is basically exactly what it says. It's a structured approach to reading. It's directly taught. I don't guess what a sound of an A makes. I can tell you what the sound of an A makes, and I can give you ways to remember that sound. So it appealed to me because my background was more math. It was more logic. And to me, it made sense. Just saying, here's a book, figure out how to read. And I know when she'd get to a word and you'd say, sound it out, I didn't even know what that meant to say sound it out. So it is directly taught. It focuses on phonological awareness and phonics, decoding, which is breaking apart words that we're unfamiliar with, encoding, which is spelling, putting them back together, vocabulary comprehension and written expression. So they all kind of go together. Now, I will say we got my daughter reading very well. She will probably never win a spelling bee, uh, but that wasn't our priority. We just wanted to make sure that she could read.
I love that. I've never heard explicit instruction described in that way, Marcy, but holy moly, that is such a great way to explain it. And you're exactly right. Math is so explicit.
It
And
is.
systematic in the way that they teach it. The skills build upon one another. But if you were taught whole language, then that's not the case. It's memorize these words. And if you are an individual who struggles with working memory and there's only literally so much that your memory can hold, um, you're missing out on a lot. And I think structured literacy too, because it is so systematic and the phonetic skills are building upon one another, you're constantly spiraling back and reviewing those. And we know our children with dyslexia, they call it the square root law, right? Where it takes them double the amount of time to learn a skill as an individual who does not have dyslexia. So the fact that structured literacy is constantly going back and reviewing the skills and you do not move on until you've mastered a skill, it's allowing our kids the time that they need to truly develop these phonetic skills that they need to read words. Whereas in, the traditional school setting, you can't, they're not given that time. They're taught this skill,
No,
they're tested on it, and then you move on. And so the kids who haven't mastered that are falling behind, further and further and further behind. So, yeah, so structured literacy again is works with all readers, but is 100% vital for our children with dyslexia. It's they need it.
They do need it, and they need I mean, how many parents have gone through, I'm sure you've done this, Kayla, weekly spelling tests
mm,
where the kids have to go through and they memorize a list of words. And boy, she could get through those, but come Monday, she had no idea, what
yeah,
any of the words are. And
yeah,
so when we teach them specifically how to read these words, we also work on how to spell the words, not by memorizing them, but by just applying general rules as to what happens with certain words.
right. Because our kids can't hold those whole words if
No.
they can't do it. So when they come to a word that they knew yesterday or a week ago, but have no idea what it is today, but they have learned the skills to sound it out. And so that
Yes.
is, yeah, that's the game changer, the difference maker
Mm-hmm.
within structured literacy. So you
And
touched base on these parts a little bit, Marcy.
pardon, the Wilson reading system is based on Orton Gillingham. Orton Gillingham wrote their first books in 1935. Wilson took all of that information, and as you were saying, Kayla, you don't advance if you don't understand what's lying underneath. But if you do understand it and you go, we still go back and we always review. So Wilson took everything and put it into a step-by-step approach. We teach the short vowels first. We teach the digraphs first. We teach them how to tap out individual sounds or how to tap out the phonemes. That's the phonemic awareness uh, part of it, which is different than the phonics. It took me a while to get that whole thing, but it is different. The phonemic awareness is they understand that bat is b-at. You get into phonics when you say the b is a b and the is an a and the t is a t. That's when we start getting into phonics. But they need to have the phonemic awareness first. They need to be able to hear those individual sounds. So we kind of do it all. You have the phonemic awareness, you have the phonics, you have the vocabulary. Most kids that don't read a lot or can't read a lot, their vocabulary is not that great because you pick it up when you're reading. So we talk about the vocabulary, and then we have fluency. How smoothly do they read? How accurate do they read? A lot of kids who are dyslexic add and omit words constantly, or they jump sentences, or their tracking is not that wonderful because they haven't had a lot of practice at it.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the bottom line is to get comprehension. That's what we want. We want our children to be able to read and understand what they read and be able to tell us what they read. So, that's where these pieces kind of fit together, and that's what Wilson really does attack.
For sure. Yeah. And that is the ultimate goal. As adults, when we sit down to read, and Anne did an amazing video on her page, the Academy New Jersey, about, what we read and allowing kids to read what they're interested in. But that's just it. When we sit down as adults to read, we're reading because we want to learn about a subject we're interested in, or we're reading for enjoyment. So we're reading for information. So when you look at things big picture, like I know at least for Sam, he will, and I hate to say never, but it's okay. He will never be a quick reader. It's just not in him. And that's the Dibbles test. The second that timer would come out, it's like he would turn pale and he was a ghost because
Mm-hmm.
he knew he couldn't read quickly, and then that was it, right? Um, but how often as adults do we sit down and someone's sitting next to us with a timer in hand timing us? Never. And so if we look big picture, our ultimate goal is comprehension and just the love to grab information through reading or through audiobooks. However our reading style is the ultimate goal. And structured literacy allows our children with dyslexia to do that as adults. And that, I mean, you cannot give them anything more, right?
Right. I
that.
agree. And how many times as adults are you asked to read out loud in front of a group? But
Yeah,
yet we ask kids to do that almost daily in class. And for those kids that are anxious, that's a really tough thing to do
absolutely.
because they know they're going to stumble.
Hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely.
mhm,
So I know, feel like there's no better way than to show Wilson in action with one of our students. So we have a little clip of you doing
mhm,
the very beginning steps of
right.
the Wilson program. So I'm gonna try to successfully share this
And
video with
and
you guys.
this child is somebody who is a little bit slower processing, but works very, very hard and has done beautifully with Wilson. She has caught on. She can apply it. Um, she's done really well with it.
Okay, I'm gonna stop presenting for a second and then re-present that video. Okay, here we go.
And I can't, there's no sound, but what I'm asking Angela to do here is to go through the vowels and tell me the sounds of the vowels based on the keywords that she's learned.
I'm gonna see if I can try to figure out, because I think it's really important for you guys to hear that video. To hear the video. Marcy, maybe if I maybe go to the next slide, and if you want to talk about
Sure,
it, I'll figure out
sure.
the audio. Okay, that may be best.
Again, how did I first get into Wilson? It was, in my mind, out of necessity. Um, it was because of my own child. After we found out she was dyslexic, I pulled her out of school and I homeschooled her for a year with the help of specialized tutors. And anybody that has homeschooled their own child knows that that can be a challenge. So we got her up and running. As I said, I had a friend that was using Wilson with her, and then when she returned to school the next year, we put her in a private school for children with dyslexia, and she stayed private until she graduated from high school.
Marcy, I didn't know any of that. I had no
Yeah,
idea. No wonder
yeah,
you're so passionate about the academy. You've been through it and you understand that it works.
I do. I do. I understand both sides as a parent and as a teacher. Wilson does differ from other programs, but a lot of the programs are directly taught phonetic approach programs. Wilson is a little different from Orton in that in Orton, I think you have a little bit of leeway to say, okay, a child is reading at this level, so we're going to start them kind of here. Wilson, whether you're 8 or 80, everybody's going to start in the same place because that way they learn the correct terminology and the correct patterns and the correct sounds, and everybody's on the same page. So uh, that's some of the difference with Wilson. whether you know it's right for your child, most of the time, somebody will evaluate them when they come in. I know I've had kids that I've had come in for tutoring that read like the wind, but did not comprehend a thing they were saying. But and I would say to the parent, you may want to put your money someplace else to help them. It may not be Wilson, but for those kids who are just having trouble decoding, or they're grinding so much trying to figure out the words when they read that they get to the end of the page and they have no idea what they read. I mean, I know we do that as adults sometimes, just we're not paying attention, but for kids that are really struggling to decode, they're putting all their resources into decoding words and they don't necessarily remember what they read at the end of the page. So they have to go back and read it again, which is, laborious for them.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of effort for them. So if they're rereading it,
Tremendous.
they're exhausting, the limited amount of space that they started with. And so, Marcy, you said something, and I just wanted to go back to it. You said, like, whether you're age 80 or 8 or 80, and we touched base on that at the beginning, that, dyslexia, you carry it with you through life. I just saw something recently where they said, there's no cure because it's not a disease.
No,
So it's just a different learning process, which is why this type of structured literacy is so vital. But it's not something that you're cured of. It's not something that you get rid of, which I think is incredible because people with dyslexia are amazing. But
right.
you it does go into adulthood. So I know Barbara Wilson, who created Wilson, actually began this because she was working in prisons, right? And
Right.
she
With
developed this,
adults.
yeah, for adults within prison
Hmm.
who didn't know how to read. So it's definitely a program that you can use, if you are an adult and you're illiterate, because it happens. It happens. Marcy, I'm going to try that video again, but before I try the
Sure.
video again, I wanted to touch base on one more thing. So you said earlier about like the spelling tests and things like that, I think it's important for us tonight to let parents know that not all teacher teacher preparation programs prepare teachers to instruct with structured literacy.
Yeah.
Marcy and I were talking about this earlier, and I will be transparent and tell you that when I took my first teaching job out of college, graduated with 2 bachelors, I had no idea the sounds of the alphabet, zero. I had to listen to the teacher next door to me singing the alphabet song to her students, and that's how I learned it. So I looked this up, and only 35% of colleges prepare teachers on the science of reading. So basically, only 35% of colleges are preparing teachers to understand how to teach kids to read, which is mind blowing to me when you look at structured literacy and know that this approach can teach 75 to 80% of our kids to read. It's beneficial for all kids, vital for kids with dyslexia. So just because your student is in a traditional school and has a teacher does not mean that they're trained in structured literacy or any type of reading program that focuses on the science of reading. So definitely it's okay to be an advocate and to do your research, and just to make sure, because unfortunately at the college level, our colleges are not there yet. They're not preparing our teachers.
No. No, I agree with you, Kayla. I mean, it definitely from having a technical background, I learned it all when I first started, and through probably the first 5 years of tutoring, I'd learn something new every day.
Yeah, and there's that shift. I was taught whole language in school. So our
Hmm.
teachers that, are around at my age, that's how you were taught in school. And so you wouldn't know that phonetic component.
But if you think about it, there's a saying that I've heard before, and I think I've said it to you all before, is that before grade 3, you're learning to read. after grade 3, you're reading to learn. So what happens to those kids who get to that grade 3 and they haven't really learned to read yet? Right.
They don't,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
sad.
they need more time. They need
Mhm.
more time, and they need more specific, directly taught instruction as to how things work.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, guys, let's try this again. Fingers crossed, because this is some good stuff here. Can you hear it?
No.
Oh. Okay. If anyone has any suggestions, let me know. I don't know. Oh wait, I know.
Are you presenting it? Are you presenting it through maybe the Chrome tab?
I was doing my entire screen, but if I do a tab, then you'll hear it. It just came to me. Thank you so much. Light bulb moment. Did you guys love it or what? All right, here we go.
Do.
Yeah, can you hear it?
And again, remember, you can always use your portfolio. Tell me all the sounds of the vowels.
Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
A apple A, E N E, I H I, O octopus A, U up A.
Perfect. Now, how about that Y when it's a vowel? What sound does it make?
An I or an E.
An I or an E. Excellent, Angela. Tell me your digraph sounds. Digraphs, remember? Yeah, you remember.
CK, sock.
Yeah, so it makes a k sound. Excellent.
CH, chin.
Uh-huh. Good.
QU,
If you can't remember the keyword, that's fine. Just tell me the sound.
qua.
Perfect. Like queen
Clean.
or quilt.
Ship, yeah.
Uh-huh.
SH, ship. Sh.
Perfect.
TH, TH, thumb.
Uh-huh. And PH?
PH, phone.
Uh-huh. You won't forget that one. And WH?
WH, whistle.
Yeah. Excellent. And WH makes the same sound as what letter?
W,
Perfect. And PH makes the same sound as what letter?
and F.
Excellent. All right, let's go to your welded sounds. How about the ing, ang, ung? Let's do those first. So ANG is
ANG, fang, ang.
perfect.
ING, ring, in. ONG, song, ong. UNG, lung, ung.
Excellent, Angela.
ANK, bank, ank. INK, pink, ink. ONK, honk, onk. UNK, junk, unk.
Wonderful. How about your closed syllable exceptions? You remember what those are, the rule breakers?
IVE, give, if.
Now, wait a minute. Think about that one. Is that closed? Except it is an exception. But think about which one that is. Is that a closed exception, or is that an open, or a VCE, or a CLE?
It's a VCE.
You're exactly right. Uh-huh. Good. Now, which one are your closed? There's 5 of them. Those are it. You've got it.
ILD, wild, ild.
Yes.
IND, find, ind.
Perfect.
OLD, cold, old. Colt, wait, sorry. OLT, colt, alt.
Mm-hmm.
OST, post, oast.
And for 1,000,000 points, tell me why those are rule breakers. What is it? What happens in a closed syllable?
The vowel short.
The vowel short. Exactly right. It's got one vowel, it ends in one or more consonants, and the vowel's short. So, if that's the case, why are those guys rule breakers?
Because the vowel's long.
The vowel's long. They're all closed, aren't they? So, if I say using a digraph tile and one of your exceptions, make the word child. Now, is that closed?
Yeah.
It is. It's only got one vowel. It ends in one or more consonants. But that vowel is...
All right. All right. So I feel like if you don't know structured literacy, you're probably like, holy moly, what are all of these, VCE, closed exceptions, like what are all of this different lingo, right? And so, Marcy, I wanted just to show them so this is my son's notebook. So when they're first taught the sounds, they're taught the sounds with these keywords. I don't know if you can see it, but then they draw these pictures, right? And so we know children with dyslexia, with the connections that they make and how that's a strength, and anything visual that we can fill in, the better. So, Marcy, do you want to talk about your video at all? Did you want me to go a little longer, or was that okay?
Oh, that was fine.
Okay.
That was fine. I think that summed it up.
Awesome. Can you guys see my PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this is Angela. You didn't get to see her face because she was using her board. And this is a student that I tutor through the academy called, her name is Addison, and she's awesome also. So it's wonderful to see. Yeah, I had asked Angela the other day if she felt it was helping her. And she said yes, because she's no longer skipping words she doesn't know. And when she first started, everybody has seen this, that they'll get to a word they don't know and they just kind of mumble it. They'll say the first sound, they'll say the last sound, and in between, hoping that you don't notice that, they don't know it. But she is actually breaking apart words. She's gained confidence. She's, as I said, reading Harry Potter now, which she would have never tried before.
I have the clip of that video, Marcy, and since I'm a tech expert now, I can easily hop over.
Okay, go right ahead.
Just like now from when before school I read, like before came in here, every time I read, I'd like, I know that stuff like every word to try to figure out what it is. And
Yeah.
sometimes what I would do is if I didn't know a word, I just skipped over it.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
very
then,
common.
but now when I read and if I don't know a word, I kind of just like slow down reading and then look at it, and then I figure out what the word is.
And you do almost every time. You know, like when we're reading some of these books, you figure these words out pretty quickly. Is it helping you in your writing?
Yeah.
With your spelling?
Mm-hmm.
How's it helping you there? You're just slowing down enough to try to spell the words?
Well, yeah, but normally when I'm writing my rough draft, I kind of just like type it all, and if I make like a mistake or something after the rough draft, I'll like go back and I'll fix all my mistakes and stuff.
But the idea is to get your ideas down on paper, and then you go back and you fix it. That's the right way to do it. Yeah, you don't worry about the spelling at first, but you recognize now when a word's not spelled correctly, or a lot of them anyway. And you know when it doesn't look right, you just do what?
Just go or like write it differently.
Write it differently or look it up, right?
Yeah.
Look it.
All right. All right.
And Angela uses Grammarly to look up her words, and that's one thing we do teach, as you know, with the Wilson, is how to use a Franklin speller or some type of app to look up words you're unfamiliar with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like no better testimony than when a child can speak to the way that a program and a coach, right? We need you, Marcy, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What it's done for them and their reading and I mean, this is a skill that will impact her for the rest of her life. And so it's awesome to hear that.
Well, she's a great kid.
Yeah, she seems like a great kid. I don't get to work with her, but she does. Marcy, anything else that you can think like structured literacy wise, as far as that you would really want to fall upon the ears of maybe parents who are wondering or teachers who are wondering or anything like that?
Well, I would go back. I know, we all have regrets, and I kicked myself for years for not having my child tested sooner to where I could get a diagnosis and I could start. I knew there was something wrong, but I was believing what I was being told, and I should have questioned it more. But I would encourage, if you are wondering whether your child is dyslexic or not, to have them tested and get that formal, diagnosis, or even if they're just struggling reading, get them. It is not going to hurt them to be in a phonetic program like this. It's going to do nothing but help them in the long run. But it's just basically trust your gut if you think something is amiss, and follow through with it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I know too, it was so funny. We had parent teacher conferences a couple of weeks ago. One of the parents asked a question, and it was so brilliant. She was like, I just don't get it. My child who struggles to read needs to learn all of these different, closed syllable exceptions, vowel consonant E, vowel consonant exceptions, all the letter sounds, all the different rules, all the syllable types. And like, that's my child who has difficulty reading. Like, it seems so complex for someone who struggles to read. It almost contradicts itself. And I thought like that was a great perspective on it. And just my response to her was it works because it targets their area of need. And so I don't even know why, I guess because I'm a mom of boys and my husband's a baseball coach, but I just thought of baseball, like when a player is struggling with hitting, you target that specific skill they're missing, right? And that's how they become the best overall athlete. And so that's exactly what structured literacy is doing. It's targeting that need and targeting and not moving past it until they master it. And so that's why it's so effective, along with all the other things that Marcy spoke to tonight. But I just thought that was a cool perspective, because I've never had anyone say that to me before. And it's so true. It seems so complex for someone where that's their area of struggle.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So success stories with the Academy. We are new, but we are making an impact with our students, and we get success stories from our parents and from our coaches all the time. And so here's a little guy who was struggling with writing, and he was enjoying class so much that he forgot he was writing. And here is a handsome fellow. It's my son. But he, again, he has dyslexia, and writing was such a struggle for him. I need to put the before picture of him in traditional schools that I have of him sitting on the stairs crying, because he was trying to complete a writing assignment and just could not get his thoughts down on paper. And I know some of his current coaches are in here right now, and for them to think of him crying, it almost seems like imaginable, because he's so happy with the Academy. But yeah, so his writing coach worked with him, and they submitted his writing piece to the Dyslexic Advantage, which is a phenomenal book and organization, nonprofit, and they awarded him with a ribbon and a letter, and it just boosted his self-esteem. And he said, I used to think dyslexia was a curse, and now I think it's what did he say? Something cool, like superpower or something. Something cool like that. So, and here's another parent talking about her daughter's rapport with the coaches. So even though we're virtually and opening our first brick and mortar, but definitely that rapport building's happening. The coaches take time to get to know your students, get to know their strengths. They pull their strengths into the sessions. Just a great job. Another parent saying how pleased they are. Oh, there's Miss Marnie, she's another incredible coach. Our students they work hard, but they also have fun, and our coaches do it so seamlessly and so perfectly. And so here's Miss Marnie having fun with one of her students. St. Patrick's Day, they pull in art, they pull in music, they pull in movement, take breaks, they pull all of those things inside of the lessons. So Sam's doing some jumping sloth jacks that Miss Rosemary created for math. So I mean, I'm telling you, just an incredible group of coaches. We do have tutoring services, as Miss Marcy was speaking to. So you have the option of being a full-time student of ours, or choosing our courses a la carte, or signing up for our tutoring in any of our subject areas. So we really just we know what we have to offer works for these unique learners, and we want to make sure we can offer it in whatever way best fits your child or your family at this time. Another recap about us as a school. And again, if you'd like to try us for free next week, you can do that April 19th through the 21st. Just go to theacademyvirtual.org to register for that. And always visit our website, of course. All right. I think that is it. That is it. Marcy, special place in my heart. You are incredible. The Academy Virtual is so blessed to have you. These students are so blessed to have you. Your daughter obviously knew you would have this impact, chose you for a reason, right? She had to get your ball rolling out of the tech world and into the education world so you could make a difference in these students' lives. But thank you so much for your time and for all of your knowledge, Marcy. We really do appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anyone have any questions? No? All right. All right, guys. Well, I hope everyone has a fantastic evening, and thank you guys for joining us. And if you would like to watch the replay of this, to rewatch something, if you have a question, all of our parent info sessions are uploaded onto our YouTube page, which is under the Academy Virtual. Thanks, guys. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.